morning, gang. Good morning, family. Good morning, friends. Good morning, anybody who's watching. Whatever category you fit in, you got gourd. You're hurting hippie with the pondering. And what am I pondering? I actually should rant on this, but my opinion isn't so solidly based that I could just rant. My thoughts are, my pondering is, what am I waiting for? You already read the title. Impaired driving under this new world of ours. I get very upset. I really get upset when I see the articles. Canada is increasing are doubling down on the laws of impaired driving because we're about to embark on a new issue, and that is stone driving. They think they're about to embark on it. They've been on this for 50 years. People have been stone driving. The reason they haven't caught a hell of a lot of people is 90% of the time you're better. You're a better driver when you're high. Now, I'll see if I can get the study. One of the studies that I'm thinking of, and attach it below. But there are many studies that have lately shown that, and this is what I believe, and again, it's a belief, it's not a fact, because there just hasn't been enough study. There hasn't been enough study with the aim on actually finding the truth, not on proving a predisposed thought. Right now, when most of the tests that have been out there have been to prove that you're impaired, to prove how much you're impaired. When you get high, the studies are thereby assuming that you are impaired, and they're just trying to find out the degree to which. And when they don't get exactly what they need, the data is then fudged to fit the circumstance. But I found a few studies that I don't believe they were big enough, but I believe that they were attacked in the right way to produce a better truth. These studies were, are you really impaired or are you a better driver? And so they tested people at many different times throughout their high and at many different levels of high. The gist of it was, within the, kind of like eating and then going swimming, wait 30 minutes. Right immediately after smoking a joint or having a vape or a dab, you are in the midst of the beginning of the euphoria, and you are a little bit dizzy, a little bit out of sorts, a little bit impaired. And I have never, that's the thing though about I hate the word user, a partaker of cannabis is, we know we don't smoke that J and run. Oh, we may have a toke in the car while we're going along, but that's not, you gotta remember, one toke is not smoking a joint. One toke is just lifting where you are on the equilibrium of high and straight a little bit. Because you've dropped, you raise, you dropped, you raise. When you're medicating, that's a normal thing. What I'm talking about is when you have a whole joint or you have 3 or 4 dabs in a row. You have this brief period of high euphoria. Both mean the same thing. And you would be impaired during that time. But afterwards, most of these studies that have looked at it accurately have found that almost everybody was more cautious, stayed at or just below the speed limit, never got outside of their lane, never followed too close, but were not so cautious that they were a nuisance to anybody else on the road. Whereas drunk drivers are all over. We have proven you get drunk, you are impaired. You can't see correctly. And that's one of the biggest problems. Once you get really drunk, your equilibrium and your vision split up and fall apart. That gets tuned with marijuana. So we're lumping, all over the world, we're lumping impaired driving as being either alcohol or marijuana. And we need to change. We need to study, because we're going to be putting people in jail for being impaired when they were not. When they were, in fact, maybe the better driver, and they're going to use the fact that they had THC in their system to say they made the mistake, when in fact they maybe did not. So I'm really concerned about the very short period, the next 5 or 10 years, while advocates, and that's our job as advocates, continue to push for more truth, both in advertising, truth in research, truth in legislation and regulation. We need a huge shift in the stigma. And once we get that, and we get a fully legalized world, well, things will change. Things will become more prevalent. And as well, we got to remember, we are very soon to enter an era where most cars will drive themselves anyway, and impaired driving may become a thing of the past. What do you think? Mention it below. I also would like to do a pondering as to what would a future 20 or 30 years from now, when it's legal all over the world just as much as alcohol, in fact, maybe in 20 or 30 years down the road, we're looking at trying to fix alcohol so it doesn't hurt us and become so dependent and wreck our livers and stuff like that, so it can be more healthy like cannabis. We have a weird future ahead of us. None of us know what it will be like, but I hope to be there. Peace and cheers, friends. Love and harmony. If you see somebody without a smile, give them one of yours. Happy Sunday.